Welcome back to Studio F. We're on Fast Times with Willy B. We'll be talking about Maestro. Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds.
Russell.
Welcome back to Fast Times with Willy B. I'm Willy B. And we got Keenan back. Keenan, how are we doing today?
Good, how are you?
Doing good, doing good.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, finally got to, see Maestro. I had to wait for the Netflix release. Not all of us got to go to the big city, the Big Apple,
Yep.
and see this one. Before we dive into this, how was that experience?
It was a wonderful time. I got to listen to members of the production team since the actor strike was still going on. Bradley Cooper and Carey Mulligan were not present, but got to listen to Josh Singer, the writer, Kazuhiro, the makeup artist. I believe Matthew Libatique, the cinematographer, was there as well. And the three Bernstein children were there talking about the film. So yeah, it was a very cool experience. And it was my first time ever in New York. So
how was that?
It was a lot of fun.
What was your favorite part of New York City? There's a lot.
There's a lot. Central Park, because the hotel was like a block away from Central Park, so I got to.
Central Park's a good time.
Yeah, it was
beautiful.
People were so nice, but I looked like a jackass with a big smile on my face the entire time. Everyone was just like doing their thing, going to work, and I was just like, "Oh wow, this place is amazing."
You can tell he was a tourist.
Yeah, you can tell he was a tourist in New York City, and I was definitely a tourist.
That's awesome. Yeah, New York City's a fun time. What is it? There's like enough restaurants where you can eat at a different one every day.
Yeah,
for
probably.
Years.
And I ate at the same one twice. Or I didn't eat at the same restaurant, but I went to the same like coffee shop twice, and I was like, I should probably try a different place. But yeah, it was.
We ate at the same restaurant once.
Yeah,
like we did. There was one restaurant we really liked, so we hit it a second time before we left.
It's it was great food. But I also going to a show on Broadway. I got to see the production of The Shark is Broken, which is about the making of Jaws, and it starred the son of one of the actors that was originally in Jaws. I forget. Not Richard Dreyfuss. Who else is in it? Not Richard Dreyfuss. Not.
Wasn't Chief Brody?
No, it was the other guy. It was the weird guy.
I can't think of his name.
The
got eaten by the shark.
Yeah. So his son though played him.
That's cool.
Played his dad in the production, which was
pretty cool.
Super neat, and the whole cast. I got to meet the whole cast after the production, and they were all so nice.
Broadway's magical.
Yeah. And speaking of New York City, I mean that's almost like a character in this movie.
Yeah.
The day I got into New York, I was just waltzing around and I saw the street sign Leonard Bernstein Drive. And I was like, oh, this is going to be such a fun time. And then I got to see the movie that night. So.
New York City is it's a big city that when you're walking through it makes you feel like the main character of a movie.
Yeah.
For sure.
No, when I was at the Met, I had my AirPods in and I was listening to the West Side Story soundtrack. And yeah, you really do feel like the main character.
Some people don't think I like musicals, but I'll tell you what. I loved Beetlejuice on Broadway.
You loved Alex Brightman on Beetlejuice on Broadway. No.
He was great. He was.
Oh, yeah. And he was actually in The Shark is Broken, actually.
He does a lot of stuff there. He's like the...
Yeah,
he's the guy
I'd like to see him in a movie.
I know. I'm surprised he hasn't made that leap considering how much respect he has.
And if he has, it hasn't been in anything flashy,
yeah.
Which you would think. I mean, I don't know.
But yeah. Well, I'm glad you got to experience it. That sounds awesome.
Thank you,
But yeah, so let's talk about Maestro. So obviously Bradley Cooper directed this one and is also the star of the film.
Yep.
Biography about Leonard Bernstein and decent cast. I shouldn't even say decent. Phenomenal cast. Carey Mulligan was awesome.
It's an amazing
Maya
ensemble.
Hawke as supporting as one of the daughters. Mm-hmm. Sarah Silverman. The list goes on and on. Some just names that are very recognizable and some names that made a name for themselves with this one.
Yeah. I think the ensemble, he really outdid himself in gathering the cast. This is his sophomore effort to A Star Is Born, and he said that in casting A Star Is Born, he didn't make anybody audition.
Yeah.
Bradley didn't, and he would just talk to them, and he would take a walk with them, and he would talk about the production, and he said that he learned that from Clint Eastwood. Eastwood, he wouldn't make people read, and he took a lot from the directors that he's worked with. Like, he doesn't say action; he just kind of lets the scene progress, and you just go. Which I could listen to that guy talk about his directing, 24/7. But I really could. But his he had wanted to conduct ever since he was a child, which I think you really see he had the passion for it for such a long time. So it's really nice that he was able to make his passion project really, and at such a young age. I mean, some directors don't get to do that until 5 or 6
like their last one.
And I was thinking, and I really didn't get to listen to Alexander Payne talk a lot about the holdovers, but I think that was his passion project, and the fact that it took him 20 years to make it is and it really paid off.
For sure.
But I mean, for Bradley Cooper to be able to do it at such a young age, I mean, I think him as a storyteller, he has such a bigger, or a higher ceiling as a director than he does an actor, which I think he's a wonderful actor as well. I mean, you see it in the movie.
For sure.
I mean, being able to, first let's talk about just his becoming Leonard Bernstein. I mean, the makeup, the voice, just the mannerisms of this guy.
So we've definitely already started. Let's talk the good. There's a lot of good to talk about, especially on the technical standpoint. This is a film that you would call technically stunning.
Yeah.
When it comes to the acting, the cinematography, the makeup, just everything that goes into a making movie is done very well.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like you said, you talk about the basics, the acting, phenomenal. The makeup, we can dive in a little more with that. This is the first time in a long time where we see a movie not only age somebody, but de-age somebody. And you see
5 different
timelines.
Yeah, there's 5 different versions of Lenny that we get, and it's really cool to see how it progresses. I mean, the movie starts out at the last progression, which is number 5, when he's playing the piece that Lenny wrote for Felicia, and he's talking about her when he's being interviewed. And then we go all the way back to number 1 when he's 25 years old, getting the call that he's going to conduct the New York Philharmonic for the first time, which is probably personally one of my favorite sequences in the whole movie.
That was my favorite use of the camera throughout this entire movie, when you see the overhead shots of him running through the hallways. And even that shot when he takes the call, it's a closed window. And when I was watching, I was like, "Oh, this is a closed curtain at a theater," and he's sitting high up in the booth.
And that's exactly what I thought it was. And that's how the camera's pointed up at him.
Yeah.
And
then when the lights turn on, you see it's a window, or he opens the window, and you're like, "Oh, this is a bedroom."
Yeah, and having the opening titles from On the Waterfront playing as he's running through the hallways.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just it's so beautiful. I said that was my favorite sequence. That's probably, like you said, my favorite use of the camera. But I don't want to skip too far. But my favorite sequence is probably him conducting the 6 minutes of Mahler's Second at Ely Cathedral.
Which we talked about that when you joined me to finish watching it. That scene,
isn't it?
It's powerful.
It's powerful. It's
you just sit back, let the music talk, and you see Bradley Cooper putting everything he has into this.
My favorite review, it shows up in the trailer, and it says Bradley Cooper exerts and exhausts his soul.
Yeah.
And you see that in his conducting. And even though it's not exactly frame for frame what Leonard Bernstein did, maybe kind of like what Rami Malek did in Bohemian Rhapsody as Freddie Mercury. I mean, you watch Bohemian Rhapsody, the Live Aid sequence when he's playing, that is almost shot for shot the exact same Live Aid that people saw, on their televisions. Bradley did almost like there's certain moves that he used that are similar, but I know one part. It's a less powerful moment back in the 70s when Bernstein did it. And Lenny just kind of like wisps his baton through the air, and Bradley's doing something more rigorous with it. And I just think like, but he still had the essence of what Leonard Bernstein was about. And, when he finally finishes and he goes over to Felicia off to the side and he kisses her and she says to him, "There's no hate in your heart." And that's what I think we were supposed to get from seeing him just exhaust his soul on that podium. And
that's a great scene. Staying on the topic of great scenes, another one I loved was when you get to the point Felicia's just fed up, and we see a fight scene on Thanksgiving, and it's highlighted by Snoopy making an appearance.
Who left Snoopy in the vestibule?
Who left him there?
Who left Snoopy in the vestibule?
That was never answered, but
and that was such a powerful sequence because she's trying to hurt him. Felicia's really trying to hurt Lenny, and I think if anybody has ever been in a relationship where you get to that point of arguing, you might not even remember what it's about like a week from then, but you're trying to win. You're trying to win. Yeah. And you're trying to almost get to them, and I don't know if the point of that fight was for her to make him feel bad about, him not being there for his children or his obligation to his music or something. But yeah, she's just trying to hurt him. And I listened to Bradley was saying how when he picks up Lenny picks up Snoopy and he walks in and he's like, "Who left Snoopy in the vestibule?" That's him bringing his ego into the room, making it about him. Then he leaves Snoopy, goes into fight with his wife, and at the very end of it, Felicia says, "You're going to die a lonely old queen." And the entire fight is now overshadowed by his ego, Snoopy, coming through passing the window. Which I just love. I love the little symbolisms throughout the movie. And on top of that, the music by Leonard Bernstein. That's a beautiful part at the end when the credits are fading, and the very last one before we go to like the main credits is music by Leonard Bernstein. Yeah. And all of it, whether it was composed by him or conducted by him at some point. I just love that there was no original music. Yeah.
Touching base on the music, great soundtrack. When you told me that, because I was kind of catching on to it, when you told me that all but, 2 songs towards the end were by him or conducted by him, I was like, that's a really cool touch. And then the 2 songs that weren't.
Right, yes.
Were 2 songs that fit perfectly. Obviously, as a classic rock fan, I loved them. You get a little bit of REM, and you get a little bit of Tears for Fears. Yeah. You can't beat that. But
no,
both of them fit. REM plays in kind of a transitional scene. Tears for Fears plays in what we both thought, because before you told me, I thought it was a nightclub too. It ends up being the theater, but it plays in that like party setting, which would be where you'd hear that song at that time.
Yeah, I think the REM, I think it's called Maestro one. I could be totally wrong on the name, but there's a line as they're pulling up into this parking lot. Grass parking lot, weirdly enough. They say Leonard Bernstein in the song, and of course he would love listening to a song that uses his name.
Yeah.
But the Shout song I found interesting, because here's a man who's at he has more days behind him than he has ahead of him. He just lost his wife. He's when I first saw it, I was a little uncomfortable with like the him like holding his student's head, and it was very intimate. But he has that line, he loves people.
Yeah,
he loves people, and maybe that doesn't mean necessarily in a sexual way or in an intimate way, but he just loves everybody, and he cannot be alone. And so that song, Shout, and some of the lyrics, I'm just like, maybe this is how he feels.
Yeah,
this is how he feels in like the last 10 years of his life. So yeah, I think that was also symbolic, that song choice, which at first I just did not know. And there's a shot of him just like holding up his drink and just it looks like he's screaming into wherever it would be, the just the ceiling of the theater. So yeah.
Another good thing. This is an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah.
If you're not prepared to grab some tissues, it might not be for you. But I'll tell you what, it's an emotional roller coaster. But it's worth the 2 hours and 11-minute run time for sure.
Yeah.
If you're looking for a good cry, you'll get it here.
I think there's many different things that many different emotions that this movie gets out of you. One thing that my favorite director is one of my favorite directors is Warren Beatty, and one thing that Warren Beatty does in a lot of his movies is the topic can be really, really just heavy, and you still find a way to bring levity to it, and bring some sort of happiness. One of my favorite parts towards the end, not to spoil it.
We got spoiler warnings.
But Felicia Montealegre gets breast cancer, which I believe develops into lung cancer, and she passes away. And there's a scene before you find out that she passed away, where she's cutting Lenny's hair, and their kids, they put on this song. It's called like the clap song. Yeah. On the soundtrack, it's called the clap song. But they start doing a dance, and there's just this beautiful moment where he stands up and he hugs her and he tells the kids to come over here, and they all just have this one big group hug to this really uplifting song. That part really gets me.
Yeah. It's you watch it and you know it's the last time you're going to see them as a family on screen. Obviously, that probably wasn't their last moment in real life, but...
No, yeah, of course.
When you're watching this film, you're like, at the root of it all is family, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I think he, even in his moments of debauchery, him enjoying life, he lived his... According to the movie, and... he lived his life the way he was going to live it. And when he found out, like, his wife... he was always trying to keep the family together somehow. I mean, there's a scene where he's in the bathroom. He had just done a whole bunch of cocaine, and he's in there talking to his daughter, saying he wants to get the whole family together to be in Fairfield for the weekend. And you can just tell that he knows that, like, he's trying so hard to keep the family together somehow, which, might be his downfall. But one of my other favorite scenes, I forgot about this because we didn't get to see this one together, when he goes out into the yard with Jamie, and Jamie says, are these rumors about you?
Yes,
are they true? And
talks about jealousy.
Yeah. And I loved that because, that's something that, like, my parents would tell me. Yeah. If a kid's being mean to you or something, that's just jealousy. And I really thought about that, and I was like, and he lies to her. He lies to her, and she says, "I'm relieved." And there's that long pause of why the hell are you relieved? And I think that is the heart of it all. Yeah. That's why he can't be open. That's why he could not be an openly gay man, and that says it. And I don't know if he was gay. Not openly gay, but openly bisexual.
Yeah.
So I thought that screamed, so much. And just the look on his face, and you can tell he's really thinking about, like, he wants to tell her. He wants to tell his daughter, the truth, and he just can't. And that part really got me, too.
Yeah. For the most part, this movie sticks to the same color palette, but occasionally would just shoot blue at you. Yeah, and I really like that. We see it in the ending, and we see it, another one that really stuck out to me is we see it when, after he finishes the mass, Felicia jumps into the pool in the underwater shot.
Right, yeah.
And I loved that just, like, random color jump.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that added to, we already talked about cinematography was gorgeous, very well shot movie, a lot of like earthy tones, shot from the garden, shot inside of buildings that are the earthy tones, but those random yellow and blue just kind of, made you stick around.
Yeah, absolutely. I think even in the cathedral scene when he's conducting for 6 minutes, it almost looks like I know they're trying to get that sort of quality that makes it look like it's maybe from the 70s or the 80s, but I mean, I don't know. I think that's more of a blue tone in that sequence, or even like a green. But yeah, especially with the yellows. The black and white sequences, I wish I could at least see like what they're wearing in color.
Yeah.
Just because I love what the costuming.
Oh yeah.
And that just added a whole another layer. I mean, when they're in the park for the final time and they lean up against each other's backs and like that suit that he's wearing.
Yeah.
It's so neat. And
I really liked the black and white, the aesthetic of it. It felt like I was watching a movie from the 40s and 50s and
yeah, no, absolutely.
And holiday season, I just watched It's a Wonderful Life. And
Jimmy Stewart.
Yeah. Before that, multiple black and white movies have crossed my eyes during the holiday season. You get a lot of them. And this one, it just felt like that when they were outside and the trees were black and white. It just it was easy on the eyes.
When that real wide shot of them, it's like looking at it from a balcony and they're just walking through the middle of the frame. That's a beautiful shot. I think now I want to talk about, and this was a scene that you didn't love. It was the sequence right after Maestro Kuzovitsky, or whatever his name is, says that he could be the first great American conductor. And Felicia tells Lenny, I want to know what he's talking about. What is he talking about? And the shot where she grabs his hand and they run through the house, but it does this thing where it seamlessly cuts from the house to the theater.
Yeah.
I loved that transition. I love transitions like that. But then the dance sequence, the magical, like, the three sailors on leave. I think that I forget what the actual musical's name is. I don't think it's On the Town. Maybe it is On the Town. But that entire sequence where Bradley starts dancing with Felicia with the 15 or so other dancers. What didn't you like about it?
It was weird. Yeah. So I know for you, this movie's like basically flawless. So we'll hop over. We'll talk about my meh and bad, and you can give me your rebuttal. We'll just do that.
Yeah.
Because the good, I know you can go on and on.
I could go on and on. Yeah. This would be too long of a video.
So let's hop over to the meh.
Yeah.
And we'll start with that Sailor song. For me, it wasn't that it was bad. It was just really weird, and I don't know. I wasn't expecting it. It kind of caught me off guard, and I didn't know how I felt about it in the moment.
Was it a change of pace thing, or was it like...
Almost.
Okay.
And I would put pacing in the meh for me as well.
Yeah.
I think the first hour of the movie was kind of slow for me. I loved the second hour.
Right.
And I know you said that you enjoyed the first hour more, but you enjoyed, obviously, the whole 2 hours. And
yeah.
I'm in the same boat. I did not enjoy the first hour. It's just the pacing was a little off for me. Like this, it'd be really slow, then it would jump cut. Then
there was
weird for me.
And some of those scenes are real short, too. I mean,
yes.
I'm trying to think of one in particular. I mean, the whole montage of, Trouble in Tahiti, where it's when you first see they have their first two children, or it's all three of their children, but it's them in their yard and Jamie standing on his back or whatever. I understand. So once we come over from black and white to color, that's when it starts to pick up, or
basically.
Okay.
I'm not saying that I enjoyed seeing it in color more, because like I said, the black and white was aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
But yeah, that's kind of when the pacing made more sense to me.
Okay.
Was when the color came around.
Okay.
Also, another note for the good, I really liked how the movie aspect ratio changed as
Isn't that interesting?
The years changed.
So, okay, and I'm going to
I just had to throw that out there.
I'm
couldn't forget about that.
I'm gonna digress real quick because there is something I wanted to say, and you can cut this out if you really want to. But there was a gentleman that I met in New York City before the screening of Maestro, and his name is Brian, and we've thankfully have stayed in touch since we talked for like 45 minutes to almost maybe an hour and a half even before the showing, and he was just so kind, so awesome to talk to about the movie, and that was his number one thing was why the hell are we in a fourth or is it a 1.85 or a 4:3 aspect ratio? Yeah. Basically looking like an
Instagram square.
Yeah, or like a television back then. Yeah, and so I think, and I loved just like how intrigued he was about. He was like, he watched it a second time. He was like, I got to figure out why he would even do it like this. And I thought I listened to Bradley talk about that. And I think it was just to put you in that time more so.
Well, that's what it felt like to me because it transitions to widescreen as we get to the fifth progression.
Yeah, until the REM song.
That's when it transitions to
Maestro
the
One.
Widescreen.
Yeah. Which I don't know why, unless they're trying to do something of the time, and we started getting more widescreen. Because he died in 1990, so if that is like the last 3 or 4 years of his life, I mean 86, I still think.
I feel like we had widescreen before the 80s though.
Maybe we did. I really don't know. I mean, are you talking about in movies or in television? Because I think in television.
In television we might not have.
Yeah.
I mean, in movies, I'm looking back at obviously early 80s.
Right.
Nightmare on Elm Street. It's definitely
true. Oh yeah,
Halloween '78. It's definitely widescreen.
Yeah, that's definitely. So I don't know.
But it is interesting. Television would be. When did we develop the widescreen television?
And maybe it was even before then, and I'm just talking out of my ass. But I know that there might be.
Very well could be the case for both of us right now.
Yeah, I would like to hear. I might have to go back and try and find where he said that. I just wanted to give a shout out to Brian though, because I remember, we've stayed in touch and we've been talking about different movies that we've been watching. He's just a great guy. But yeah, aside from the sailor scene, was there any scenes in that second act where you were like, okay, this is dragging? Like we're staying way too long on this character's expression.
I felt like they did that a lot in this movie. I felt like Cooper did that a lot. One that it worked for. He stayed on when he comes running in. He's the doctor and he holds Felicia from behind. I was waiting for them to cut that sooner, but it just added to the emotion the longer they kept that rolling. So in some scenes it worked. In some scenes, it did feel like it was dragging. Maybe, I don't know, maybe the black and white did eep out a little bit, and when those scenes were dragging in black and white, maybe that just made it a little more boring. But again, I loved the black and white. I don't think it's that, but there was just in that first hour, because you joined me about an hour in, and that first hour felt really slow. And maybe it was you joining me, Sometimes the watch experience is enhanced when you have a buddy with you, but
absolutely.
I don't know, it was just something about that second hour just felt faster paced, better paced, and it's not badly paced. Like I said, this is the meh for me. It wasn't good in my opinion, but it wasn't bad either. I don't think there was very much in this movie that I would have cut out, if anything.
No, I feel like, and I'm gonna reference our Holdovers review. I mean, in that movie, I felt like every scene was perfectly placed. There wasn't a scene for me. There wasn't a scene in that movie that you could have taken it out, but I mean, honestly, everything was perfectly placed, and that's how I personally feel about this movie. I mean, he being Bradley Cooper, he really loved those one shots. And and I feel like you get to more of an emotion, like when you cut back and forth. I mean, one movie I brought it up earlier, Bohemian Rhapsody. I don't have like a vendetta against Bohemian Rhapsody, but there are scenes in there that could be so much more powerful if we just kept it on Rami Malek's Freddie Mercury. Yeah. When he's doing his, but you're cutting back and forth between several characters, and it just takes away from it. And I think it acts almost more like a play, when you're able to do these long one shots. I mean, the one shot of when he's massaging David Oppenheim's feet, and it's just this really long. I don't even know what song is playing, like the underscore for that scene, but that's a great scene. And when he's recording the message for what's his name? Is it Jerry? I think it's Jerry something, because Adam Copeland is his buddy, and then David Oppenheim, and I think the guy he's talking to on the record is Jerry. But yeah, man, yeah,
I like that scene where he's talking on the record.
Yeah, and then of course him being interviewed by, who is that? I know who is it. Him and Fleischer being interviewed for CBS.
Oh,
what's his name? I
couldn't even tell you what his name is, but that probably. I love we were talking about it before.
Is it Walter Cronkite? It might be Walter Cronkite.
I love the quote. If it's music, I love it and I do it.
Yeah,
I loved that.
Yeah. Well, okay, so
I'm not a musician, but I do love music.
Yeah.
Like, there's not very much music. Like, I'm a fan of just about every genre. I listen to back to, classical. I listen to the 40s, 50s, and 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. Like, I really enjoy music. So when he said that, I was like, I'm not talented with music, but I do love it.
and even if this movie doesn't relate to you in a relationship sense, I feel like there's something for everybody to relate to, and it's a very human story.
For sure.
Absolutely. I think we all might not be as musically talented as Leonard Bernstein, but maybe we relate to how Felicia feels.
Yeah.
Maybe, some sort of neglect, or that scene where we're the kids, longing for his attention. But that scene where Carey Mulligan and Sarah Silverman are at lunch, and it's just the one shot on Carey Mulligan, and she was like, it was my own ignorance to think that I could survive off what he could give me. It's like, God. Like, because you almost feel bad for her, but she knew the deal, and that's actually what the children said at the premiere.
Yeah.
They were like, look, our mom knew what she was getting into. Like, but they weren't dehumanizing her, like saying it's her fault or whatever. But like they were just saying, you have to understand both sides. Because I've seen a lot of negative comments saying, "Oh, we're normalizing movies where men can cheat on their wives with other men." And it's like, no, we're not normalizing any movie. We're telling a story. Yeah. And that, whether Leonard Bernstein cheated on his wife with a guy or another woman, it's still cheating regardless. I think her more so accepting it towards like the back half of the relationship, that's more of a deal. But like, no, it has, I think people are saying that and people are getting upset because it has to do with another man, unfortunately. Yeah. Which is really just, it's fucking stupid.
Yeah.
I will say, the makeup, how that got a lot of attention when it first released, and they were saying, he's in Jew face, and the family coming out, saying that we support Bradley, and what he's trying to do. This is his art. This is his, this is what he needed for this character of Lenny. And he talks about the character not as Leonard Bernstein, but he calls him Lenny because he says Leonard Bernstein. You really don't see Leonard Bernstein until the very end of the movie when he's conducting, and which I really like. There's like a separation.
Yeah.
And I think the audience is smart enough to understand that separation. I don't know.
That's it for me in the meh category. So we can hop over to the bad, and again, I'll say where I think it fell short, and you rebuttal in however way you want. This is the third biography we've gotten in the last month and a half that deals a lot with the relationship of a prominent figure. We got Priscilla early November. We got Napoleon late November. And then we get this now. Now, I have a similar gripe with this film in the sense it didn't weigh as heavy though. And Priscilla, we didn't learn anything about her, I think, in my opinion. In Napoleon, I wanted to learn more about War and Napoleon, and the relationship was kind of like still like I didn't learn much. In this one, I think we learned a lot, obviously, about the family, the relationships, everything in that sense. I did want more when it comes to the occupational side of Lenny. I wanted more composing. I wanted more conducting. I wanted more writing. I wish we had more of that.
Which I get that, because some of the best sequences are, him writing Pax Communion, and finishing it, and how, it's playing as he's showing everybody, and when Felicia jumps in the pool, and him conducting. I think, no, you have every right to feel like I don't think we got screwed out of something, because it was a movie about marriage, though. And that was,
for sure.
And that was the heart of it. So, I think with, not to jump to any other movies, but like Napoleon, how I felt about that was, it was almost like his relationship with Josephine was just a way to, I thought it was important to the story.
Yeah.
But it was a way to take, I don't know. I think that's, you could have taken away Josephine and their relationship, and it could have been about more so his obsession with conquering and his obsession with France, and it still would have been a good movie. I mean, and it would have hedged off.
I think I would have liked Napoleon more if it did that, honestly.
And I think Maestro.
Not that I didn't like.
I did enjoy it. No, I absolutely enjoyed it. I'm not knocking it, but I felt like
it could have been enhanced.
I felt
That's
like
how I felt. I left feeling a little underwhelmed.
Yeah,
because I thought the best scene in that movie was what they ended up using as a teaser, and that's really upsetting when the teaser is the best scene in the movie, because then the rest of the movie is just very underwhelming.
I think the best scene in that movie was when he got when he was crowned.
Okay,
I think that was one of the best sequences, visually, and I just think their relationship seemed very one note and almost rather stale, and in Maestro, you saw this progression of a love, even if it was love at first sight. I mean, when he says, "Hello, I'm Lenny," and he's just already enthralled with her, and he's, So I think we get more of a, multi-dimensional, six-sided die, and Priscilla, I felt, and I think we talked about this. I felt like it was the repeating thing, and maybe their relationship was that way. Which, if it was, great. But they could have added sequences in between, and I just thought it was like, Elvis is a dick. Priscilla gets pissed. Elvis says, "I'm sorry, baby," and it's like the same thing over and over again.
Super upsetting.
And so and I just like in Maestro, I don't think Lenny ever thought that he was necessarily doing anything wrong. Yeah. Because he says, I won't be confined to being just one thing. Yeah. And when they're walking through the garden, she makes that deal. I think in that scene. But yeah.
Yeah, like I said, there's not much big gripe with this one. Technically stunning. Pacing was meh, but it wasn't bad by any means. I would have loved to see more composing. This is one where, I left Priscilla and I left Napoleon. I was like, God, those movies were way too long. Yeah. This is one where I would have been okay with 20 more minutes if it was on the composing element side of things.
Sure, yeah.
I'd have been okay with 2.5 hours.
What was your favorite, out of all the good, what was your just favorite point? Like, what's one thing, if somebody said, if you had to tell somebody your favorite part of this movie, what was it? It can be a scene, it can be a character, it can be a line of dialogue.
I mean, that fight scene. Yeah. That fight scene is almost. It's very early on when the color comes on, and that fight scene was almost the flip switch for me. Yeah. Because, like you said, even adding that symbolic element, like hearing that side of things with Snoopy, it's just a very powerful scene. It's a very powerful sequence. It's a scene that will stick with you. I'd probably go with that one.
Yeah, their dialogue in that is very it's very real, and how ego takes over. Yeah, and yeah. What were you saying?
I was going to say, once the kids are older, too, I thought Maya Hawke did a great job as Jamie. She just added an extra layer.
Maya did do a great job.
She played back, too, on how great the acting was in this one. She added a layer to the story, and then she also turned in a great performance in a supporting role.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
I like seeing that she's getting more and more roles. I really like her in Stranger Things, and obviously, when you have parents like that, you got to be.
When you have when you have Uma Thurman and the great Ethan Hawke as
genes, man.
Yeah, dude. She's phenomenal, and I kind of wish that we had more scenes with her because I really think that she could, best supporting actress.
For sure.
I mean,
if there was a little more,
there was a little more,
there would be a case for
I feel like she only has about 7 or 9 minutes, but I mean, I think Dame Judi Dench won with 9 minutes.
I mean,
9 minutes of for Shakespeare in Love or something like that. Yeah. But I didn't even think about this match cut, but the match cut where she is watching him conduct and she has her cigarette like that, and then it match cuts to the back of her at the party, and that's when we go from black and white immediately from black and white to color, and it's that's actually probably one of my favorite shots because the movie is called Maestro. It's about him. It's really about her.
Yeah,
I think it's about his wife and how much he really did need her.
Yeah,
she says do you even realize how much you need me? He says, I might.
Yeah.
No, I don't think he noticed it until the very end.
Yeah.
And that very beautiful last line of any questions.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I did too, man.
So we'll hop over to our final thoughts and ratings. Keenan, pour it out. Give us your final thoughts on this film, and what are you giving this out of 10?
It'll be way too long if I give my final thoughts, but I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10, and I'll be a little cheeky and give it an 11 out of 10 because that's my lucky number.
There you go.
It only makes me more excited for what Bradley Cooper's gonna do next.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely excited to see more Bradley Cooper in the director chair,
and I'm glad that Netflix took a chance.
For sure.
On this kind of movie.
Yes. Netflix, they caught a little bit of heat with the price raises and the password sharing rules and all that.
Sure.
Right. But they backed it by putting a hell of a catalog together. Yeah. Netflix is at its all-time best, I think, when it comes to the movies on its streaming service.
Movies with Maestro in December. May, December.
Not even just originals. They're going out there.
They're going out and they're getting some really good ones. I think I saw what movie was called. Well, one of my favorite movies, The Wolf of Wall Street's on there. So.
Yeah, but I was just looking like the coming soon, and January 1st, another haul is coming through of some pretty
Joker's
good films.
Coming? I thought Joker is coming.
Joker is coming.
Which is weird because that's like a Warner Brothers property. Yeah. So I'm surprised HBO. I wonder if
it's on HBO.
But I don't know how that works. They just rent it to Netflix.
I know right now that I believe who is it? Paramount and HBO are really close to merging, which would mean Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon would be on the same service.
Oh, that'd be pretty cool.
So you could have all the cartoons in the world on one service.
Yeah. Oh,
but
God.
We'll see where that goes.
Yeah,
but.
I think Netflix is. I feel like ever since that 2019 year, 2019 they had Marriage Story, The Irishman, and I forget I feel like there's one more. But, they had Glass Onion last year or the year before. I forget what it was. I think
outside of,
they just haven't maybe necessarily had like a big, I guess, Oscar contender in a while.
Yeah. Their shows have definitely done better than their films.
Yeah, they're definitely known for their original shows, for sure.
No, good to see, that, like you said, take a chance. For me, I was between a 7 and 8, and I'm definitely closer to an 8 on this one, so I'll land on an 8.
I talked you into it, didn't I?
You did. Your stories, man. I think if I was in that situation where in New York, it might even be a 9 for me. Getting to hear you tell me what you got to hear kind of, helped its case. Whenever you get to hear the heart put into it from the heart, that just adds to it. From the crew that put their, work of art together. That's super cool. And I'm glad you got to experience it. That was probably one of the best things to experience.
It was definitely a highlight from the year.
That's definitely in the highlight reel of life.
Yeah,
when you're calling it quits at the end of life, that's when that plays in that 7-minute dream that you have.
Yeah,
that's the one that will be. New York City will be in there.
Well, and this is a cool little thing. They said, I don't know if it was Josh Singer, one of the people said Bradley's here.
Yeah,
he sat up. I believe he sat up in the balcony since he wasn't allowed on stage. He sat up in the balcony, or they said he would sit on the left side. Mm-hmm. On the left side of the balcony. And so the sequence where he first conducts? Mm-hmm. That's the hall that we were in.
Oh, so that makes sense.
Yeah. So the David Geffen Hall, I don't know if it was called, I doubt it was called that back in, 1940-something.
Yeah.
When he first conducted there. But yeah, so to be in that theater, that same theater where it all started for the New York Philharmonic, or for Lenny and the New York Philharmonic, and to watch his movie.
I bet that was awesome. I'm happy that you got to see it like that.
Thanks,
but is there anything you'd like to add on Maestro before we part ways on this review?
On this journey? No, sir. Wonderful movie, and I'm still trying to figure out who left Snoopy in the vestibule.
We'll do our research. And
we'll do our research.
We'll come back with a little side video of what we found. All right, we'll figure out who left Snoopy in the vestibule. Yeah. You and I are on it. The Carenza brothers, as some people like to call us. Now, but that'll do it for the Maestro review. Thank you all for tuning in. Keenan, thank you again for coming on.
Thank you very much.
People are going to think that you only give out 10s after watching Fast Times at Willy B.
Maybe I do.
Maybe he does, but thank you again for coming on. Thank you all for watching. If you like what you're watching, please like, comment, subscribe. Social links will be in the description below. Please hit those and hit a follow button. If you like what you're watching, we thank you all again for watching, and we will talk to you all soon. Peace.